Level 1, absolute garbage. The axes nobody wants to talk about, but somebody's got to say it. Paleolithic hand axes from around 500,000 to 200,000 BC. Yeah, the cloudy-looking flint chunks that technically count as axes, but let's be honest, they're just rocks you hold in your hand and smash stuff with. Britain's still connected to mainland Europe by a strip of land, the climate's swinging between warm and absolutely freezing, and early humans are out here gripping raw flint like it's the best we've got. Which, to be fair, it was. These things predate wooden handles by about 500,000 years. No sophistication, no mounting system. Just you, a rock, and whatever woolly mammoth you're trying to butcher. The flint turns that weird cloudy color after sitting underground forever, which is how archaeologists know they're ancient and not just something you picked up in a car park. Found next to woolly mammoth bones in dig sites across Britain because that's what you used these for, cracking open massive bones to get the marrow out. Some you'd hold in one hand, others needed both hands. Same misery over in Mesopotamia at Shanidar Cave in the Zagros Mountains. Middle and Upper Paleolithic hunters dealing with the exact same handheld rock situation. Different continent, same problem. Functional? Sure. Impressive? Not really. You'd be better off with literally anything from the next 498,000 years of human innovation. And hey, if you're still here wondering how prehistoric people went from rocks to actual craftsmanship, stick around and hit subscribe because we're about to get into axes people actually wanted to own, not just tolerate. Also, Level 7 is going to leave you with actual wonder. Level 2, getting somewhere. Mesolithic tranchant axes, 10,500 to 4,000 BC. Climate's finally settled down. Britain's not freezing its backside off anymore, and humans figured out that maybe we should make axes that don't require holding sharp flint directly in your palm. These are narrower, actually shaped like tools instead of angry rocks. Still flint, but now we're attaching them to wooden handles like we've got some self-respect. Families are moving around, hunting deer, gathering berries and nuts, chopping down trees with axes that won't slice your hand open every time you swing. They're called tranchant axes by archaeologists, which sounds fancy, but really just means we finally put handles on these things. Examples found across Cambridgeshire and Norfolk show just how widespread this design became. It's basic, it works, and it's the first time axes stopped being complete misery to use. Villages in northern Iraq between 10,000 and 7,000 BC were settling down with their own stone axes, grinding stones and pestles. Same idea, handles make everything better. Level 3, flex territory. Neolithic polished flint axes, 4,000 to 2,400 BC. People are farming now, keeping pigs, sheep and cows, settling down, and suddenly somebody decides their axe should look good too. These axes are smooth, glass smooth. Somebody spent hours rubbing flint against another rock with sand and water, basically prehistoric sandpaper, until the surface felt like silk. Some axes, like examples in Malton Museum, are less worked, made quicker for everyday use. But others, they're finished so well, you'd think someone cared about them. This is when axes stop being purely functional and start being something you're proud to carry. Still chopping trees, clearing land for the first crop fields in Britain, but doing it with style. You can tell people cared because smoothing an axe head this much takes effort. Flint's found in limestone and chalk areas, but not all flint is equal. Some regions had better flint for knapping, which means axes in Yorkshire might be made from Norfolk flint. Trade routes existed even in the Stone Age. Neolithic communities were developing similar polished stone tool technology across different regions during this period, part of the broader agricultural revolution. Level 4, showing off. This is where axes become status symbols. The absolute king of British flex is the Neolithic jadeite axe, made from jadeite that came from the Italian Alps. Think about that. Somebody in prehistoric Britain owned an axe made from stone hauled across Europe. This is wealth, connections, power. One example sits in Craven Museum in Skipton, found in the Yorkshire Dales but made from Italian stone. The effort required to source, transport, and craft this hard mineral means it was never just a cutting tool. Too beautiful, too rare to risk breaking on some random tree. And yeah, some poor soul chipped one once. There's a stone axe at Brora Heritage in the Scottish Highlands with a visible chip on the rounded end. Imagine the absolute heartbreak. Mesopotamia's playing the same game. Queen Puabi, who died around 2500 BC at Ur, got buried with a ceremonial dagger, double-edged gold blade, lapis lazuli handle decorated with gold. 10 inches of pure I'm important and you're not. Same energy, different rocks. Level 5, getting serious. Early Bronze Age flat axes, 1950 to 1750 BC. Copper and bronze show up in Britain and Ireland, and suddenly we're not limited to whatever rocks we can find. Bronze is an alloy of copper and tin, much harder than stone, and when sharpened, the blade's sharper than any polished flint. Here's the genius bit. If it breaks, you melt it down and make a new one. No waste. These flat axes were made by pouring molten metal into flat stone molds. Once cooled, you'd sharpen it, then attach it to a wooden handle. Some have decorative patterns because apparently once you figure out metalworking, you can't help but make things pretty. One flat axe found in Northern Ireland shows exactly this, functional and beautiful. Bronze was rare at first, but over time more people got access. Metal changed everything. The Bronze Age saw massive deforestation across Britain, especially in the Scottish Highlands. An axe from Ullapool Museum would have been critical for clearing forests. Egypt was already ahead on bronze. By 1550 BC, Egyptian armies were using bronze-tipped spears and battle axes with narrow blades designed to punch through leather armor. The Egyptians learned metalworking from the Hyksos invaders around 1650 BC and turned it into an industry. Level 6, refined perfection. Pal-stave axes from Britain, 1500 to 1400 BC. Bronze Age people looked at flat axes and said, "We can do better." Pal staves use two-part stone molds held together tight so you get a more complex shape. The axe head fits snugly into the wooden handle with raised edges that grip better, and there's a little loop on the side where you thread cord to wrap around the handle. No more axes wiggling loose mid-swing. This is problem-solving at its finest. The design works so well it stays in production for centuries. A pal stave found in Norfolk shows how refined these got. Smooth casting, deliberate design, actual thought put into engineering. Egyptian weapon makers during the New Kingdom were doing similar refinement. Battle axes shifted from crescent-shaped blades to narrow, straight-edge designs specifically engineered to punch through armor. Same principle, form following function. Craftsmen are thinking now, not just making tools but engineering better tools. Level 7, absolute peak. Socketed axes from Britain and Ireland, 1000 to 800 BC, the final form. Instead of strapping the handle to the axe, you insert the wooden handle directly into the axe head. It's a socket design, and it's so good it's basically the answer to every previous axe problem. The loop's still there for extra reinforcement, because why not keep what works? This design is the end of the line. After thousands of years of trying to figure out the best way to attach sharp things to sticks, this is it. A socketed axe found in Norfolk shows the design-perfected clean socket, reinforcement loop, the whole package. Another example from Scarborough shows this socket design clearly, cast with a socket into which a handle would be inserted, with a loop where leather or twine could be passed through for reinforcement. The ribbed surface wasn't just decorative, the ribs strengthened the head. Found with other Bronze Age metalwork in pits on the headland, these axes were valuable enough to hoard. Multiple Bronze Age axes have been found across Britain and Ireland in hoards buried for safekeeping or as offerings. One find from Halesworth in Suffolk, a Middle Bronze Age axe head, one of 11 found in a double hoard in 2011. Never been used, still shows the casting details. Bronze Age people buried hoards for religious reasons, practical safekeeping, or as offerings to deities. By this point, advanced metalworking had spread across multiple regions, with iron beginning to emerge as the next technological leap. From handheld flint rocks in Britain and Mesopotamia to perfectly engineered bronze sockets, the evolution of prehistoric axes is basically the history of humans getting incrementally less terrible at making stuff. Britain, Ireland, Egypt, Mesopotamia, everyone was on the same journey, just taking different routes. So there it is, 7 levels, 500,000 years, and a whole lot of trial and error. Britain and Ireland gave us socketed perfection, Egypt gave us military-grade engineering, Mesopotamia gave us ceremonial flex, and everybody contributed to the march from hit things with rocks to precisely engineered bronze tools. If this made you appreciate the random axe heads sitting in museum cases from Malton to Ur, hit that subscribe button and drop a like because honestly, prehistoric people everywhere deserve the recognition. I'll see you next time.